Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an Unexplained Phenomena video on out-of-body experiences. Uh, at 2 a.m. on July 17th, 1957, Patricia Mann woke to see a shadowy figure that resembled her mother standing by the bed. The figure spoke, saying, "Come, I need your help," before vanishing. Convinced it was not a dream, she tried to phone her mom but got a busy signal. She hurriedly dressed and drove to her mother's house, which was about 10 miles away. She found her mother lying in a pool of blood, clutching the phone in her hand. Later, in the emergency room, she found out that her mother had fallen and was desperately trying to phone Patricia for help when she blacked out. The fall had occurred at about 2 a.m., the same time she got the visitation by the shadowy figure when she woke up. In another event, Richard Evans of St. Louis, Missouri, was crossing a busy intersection when a car roared around the corner and was about to hit him. In that instance, which seemed to last an eternity, his true quote-unquote soul body jumped out of his physical body and soared above the street. He witnessed his physical body being struck and sailing through the air. He witnessed an emergency worker showing up, including a doctor, and the doctor the doctor injected him with something. Whatever the substance was, it pulled Evans back into his body like he was on a rubber band. He was then, painfully aware that he had been struck by the car. So, it's, you take what you got when you get it, right? At any rate, if this type of event had happened once or twice throughout history, you could dismiss it. You could say, well, it was a hallucination or some kind of a derangement or whatever. But these are only two accounts of the hundreds of thousands of such accounts throughout history. A study in December of 2001 of 344 patients, I want to say it was in Denmark, these people had been successfully resuscitated after suffering cardiac arrest. And in that study, it showed that 18% of these people had recollections of what happened to them while they were clinically dead. I got this information from a book. Author Brad Steiger wrote a book called Real Ghosts, Restless Spirits, and Haunted Places. And the book is really great. You got to get it. It was published in, let me look, hang on. Got to dig for these things. Hang on. 2003. Visible Ink Press. At any rate, he wrote this book called Real Ghosts, Restless Spirits, and Haunted Places, and oh my God, it is a fountain of information. You really need to get that book. If you like ghosts, that's the book for you. This guy's Brad Steiger is a great author, great writer. Pay attention to what he says. I got all this information out of this book, by the way. It's like one-stop shopping if you're researching ghosts. It's great. Anyway, in this book, he lists 7 categories of out-of-body experiences. And they're listed here as, number 1 is the projection of the soul while the subject is asleep. That seems to happen a lot. I don't know. For me, this is going to sound weird. I dream things that later come true, but I don't remember them until they do come true. So it's almost like a deja vu. But I know it's not that I've experienced it in the past. It's that I know it was a dream. It came to me in a dream. I just didn't remember it until it happened. It's crazy. It's almost like a prophetic dream, except I can't remember it until it happens, which kind of defeats the point of a prophetic dream, Anyway. Number 2 is projection while the subject undergoes surgery, childbirth, tooth extraction, that kind of thing. I would imagine, some sort of a sedative would be involved with that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this. I'm just showing you what I'm reading here. And this guy, Brad Steiger, he does a lot on this. So, get his book. I can't push it enough. Honestly, he's really great. The third one is projection during an accident, when a subject receives a terrible physical jolt and his or her spirit seems literally thrown from the physical body. I have heard of those before, and that to me seems, I guess, logical. People see their lives flash before their eyes, or people leave the physical body, that kind of thing. Projections during intense physical pain. I hesitated to talk about this, but I knew a guy who, when I was in the Air Force, I served with a guy who had been in Vietnam. While he was there, he had undergone torture by the Viet Cong. He claimed to have had an out-of-body experience during the torture. I'm not going to name no names or anything because I can't, actually corroborate any of it, but that's a story that I was told. So I can understand that. The fifth one is a projection during a high fever or severe illness. I can see that too. I've heard of that. I've seen it recanted in movies and things like that. I was watching an episode of MASH the other day. Klinger kind of sort of did the same thing, there was a soldier in the same episode. He saw the soldier who was doing it, and Klinger had a high fever at the time. Projection during, number 6 is projection during pseudo-death, the near-death experience, essentially, wherein the subject dies for several minutes and may appear to a living recipient with whom they have an emotional link, or may travel to other dimensions of existence before being subsequently revived and restored to life. So I think this is kind of like that first one where Patricia Mann saw her mother standing by the bed. And I've seen other stories like that too. As a matter of fact, in MASH, during the Halloween thing, I think they recounted a story like that. So yeah, and I've heard other people say stuff like that too. I distinctly saw my brother, and I didn't know he had died. He was standing by the bed. I didn't know he had died until, but he showed up and he smiled at me and blah, 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 that kind of thing. Number 7, the conscious out-of-body projection in which the subject deliberately seeks to free his or her spirit from the material body. I've heard of people like Hindus being able to get into a meditative state and project themselves astrally. That's what I think he's talking about here. And again, I cannot push this book enough. Real Ghosts, Restless Spirits, and Haunted Places by Brad Steiger. If you like ghost stories, buddy, this is for you. Let me tell you. Anyway, I'm going to get on with this video because it's running a little long. It seems to me, and this is going to sound weird because not really. If you know my family, you know what I'm talking about. It seems to me that everyone I know either has a personal story like this, where they've seen somebody astrally projection, or where they themselves have done it, or they know somebody who does. This is a lot more common than people would like to admit. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's definitely something to this phenomena, and maybe we should all do some soul searching, because evidently our souls may very well be searching for something. We don't know. And I'm not saying you got to be uber religious. I'm saying there's something going on, whether you're religious or not. There's something going on, and it might behoove us to know about it. That's all I'm saying. I hope this finds everybody well, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And I'm going to say it one more time. You got to get this book by Brad Steiger, Real Ghosts, Restless Spirits, and Haunted Places. You could definitely do far worse. This guy knows. He's a great author, and he does his research. You folks have a good day now. God bless one and all. We elect cookie-cutter politicians every single election cycle. Yes men who maintain the status quo and do just enough to make us believe the system still works. Imagine, if you will, a president who actually tries to fix things. If you like action, political intrigue, and a righteous crusade, check out my political thriller, The Righteous President.